Welcome to the Deep Dive,
Yeah,
where we unpack all sorts of complex topics.
that's right.
And today we're going to try to make them surprisingly relatable.
Absolutely.
Today we are diving deep into the theory of planned behavior, TPB, we'll call it sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
We've got a stack of research papers
Oh, yeah.
and real-world examples to really help us unpack
Absolutely.
this fascinating theory that honestly helps explain why we do the things we do, you know?
It's one of those things, once you learn about it,
Yeah,
you start seeing it everywhere, you know?
totally.
It's really cool.
Like, why did teenagers start smoking? Why do people stream music instead of buying
All
it?
right, right.
Or, like, why do some people always have to use GPS?
Yeah,
Even
yeah.
when they know where they're going.
Exactly.
It's just,
And the theory of planned behavior, TPB, gives us kind of this framework
okay.
for understanding those choices.
Yeah.
And it can even help us predict future behavior.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Predicting the future, that's big.
Yeah, it can be really useful for understanding not only our own choices, but also
Oh.
how to influence others.
Hmm.
So it's a powerful tool.
So tell me a little more about this TPB.
Okay.
Like, how does it actually work?
Well, in a nutshell, TPB suggests that our intentions are the biggest drivers of our actions.
Cool.
The idea is that before we do anything, there's this mental process where we weigh different factors and we form an intention.
So, like, before I reach for that second piece of cake,
Yeah,
there's this whole debate happening in my head about whether or not I should.
precisely.
Okay.
And TPB breaks down that mental debate into 4 key components:
Okay, lay it on me. What are they?
attitude,
Okay.
subjective norms,
Okay.
perceived behavioral control, and
Okay.
intention.
Oh, okay. So intention is one of the components.
Exactly.
Right.
Intention is kind of the output of those other 3.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay, let's break these down one by one.
Okay.
First up, attitude.
Mm-hmm.
That seems pretty straightforward. If I think something is good,
Yeah.
I'm more likely to do it.
Right. Attitude is your overall evaluation of the behavior,
Okay.
whether you see it as positive or negative.
Okay.
So, for example, if you believe that exercising is beneficial for your health, you're going to have a more positive attitude towards it,
Makes sense.
and you'll be more likely to actually work out.
Right.
So it's pretty intuitive.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
Okay, what about subjective norms?
Okay.
That sounds a little bit more complicated.
It does sound fancy, but
Yeah.
it's actually pretty simple. Subjective norms are all about the social pressure we feel to either engage in
Okay.
or avoid a behavior.
Okay.
Essentially, it's what we perceive, what the important people in our lives think about that behavior.
Ooh. So if all my friends are going for a run
Yeah.
and I think they're going to judge me for staying on the couch,
Oh.
then I'm more likely to lace up my sneakers and join them.
Exactly. Peer pressure is a real thing,
It is, yeah.
even for adults.
Yeah.
We're social creatures.
Yeah.
And the opinions of others matter to us, you know?
Totally.
We want to fit in. We want to be accepted.
Yeah.
And so that can influence our behavior.
Okay, got it. Next we have perceived behavioral control.
Mm-hmm.
What is that?
This one's all about your belief in your own ability
Oh, okay.
to actually perform the behavior.
Okay.
Do you have the skills, the resources, the opportunity?
Right.
So, for example, if you want to learn a new language,
Yeah.
but you don't think you have the time or the aptitude, you're less likely to start those lessons.
So it's that can I actually do this factor.
Precisely.
Got it.
Yeah.
And all 3 of these components, attitude, subjective norms, and perceived behavioral control, they come together
It's all work together.
to form your intention. So intention is like the final decision, the
Yeah.
result of all that mental back and forth.
Yes. And the stronger your intention, the more likely you are to actually do the thing.
Oh, interesting.
But of course,
Yeah.
even the best intentions don't always translate into action.
Right. Life gets in the way.
Life happens, things get in the way, we get distracted, we get busy.
Right, right.
You know, all sorts of things can happen.
So we've got this framework,
Mm-hmm.
but how do we know it actually works in the real world?
Right.
Like, how has TPB been used to explain and predict actual behavior?
Well, that's where the research comes in.
Okay.
TPB has been studied extensively, like
Yep.
in a wide range of contexts.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a very well-researched theory.
Interesting.
And one of the earliest and most researched areas is smoking cessation.
Okay, so how does TPB help us understand Why some people are able to quit smoking while others struggle.
Researchers have used TPB to develop interventions that specifically target those core components. So, for example, an intervention might try to shift someone's attitude towards smoking by highlighting the health risks.
Okay.
Or it might try to change subjective norms by showing that most people disapprove of smoking.
Right.
So, different ways of using those components to try to influence behavior change.
So it's about giving people the tools and the mindset to make a change.
Exactly.
Got it.
But here's where it gets interesting. A recent systematic review looked at the effectiveness of TPB-based interventions for smoking cessation and found that only about half of the studies actually showed significant changes in behavior.
Wait, only half? Why weren't the other interventions successful?
That's a great question, and that's what the researchers wanted to figure out.
Yeah.
So they dug deeper.
Okay.
And found that many of the studies had methodological flaws.
Interesting.
They weren't applying TPB rigorously enough.
Okay.
Some interventions only targeted one component, like attitude,
Right.
while neglecting the others.
So it's not enough to just say you're using TPB.
Right.
You have to actually implement it correctly.
Right.
Got it. Yeah.
Yeah, there's actually a tool called the theory coding scheme
Interesting.
that researchers can use to evaluate how well the TPB is being used in a study.
Okay.
It helps ensure that all the components are being addressed in a meaningful way.
That's super helpful.
Yeah, it's a good resource for researchers.
Okay, so smoking cessation is one area where TPB has been applied.
Uh-huh.
What other real-world examples are there?
TPB has been used to explain all sorts of behaviors,
Okay.
from voting
Wow.
to sun protection to even something as seemingly simple as digital music streaming.
Music streaming.
Yeah.
They use a psychological theory to understand why people stream music.
It might seem like a stretch, but it makes sense.
Okay.
Consumer behavior is driven by the same psychological factors as any other behavior.
I mean, I guess so, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm intrigued. Tell me more about this music study.
Okay.
What did they find?
Well, the researchers actually used a slightly modified version of TPB.
Oh.
They added specific motives to the standard components.
Got it.
So things like entertainment, mood,
Okay.
and social interaction.
Interesting.
They wanted to understand not just if people stream music,
Right.
but why they choose to do so.
They were trying to get a more nuanced understanding
Exactly.
of the motivations behind the behavior.
Exactly. So they surveyed a group of college students who are big music streaming users
Okay.
and found that this expanded TPB model was even better at predicting streaming behavior than the original TPB model.
That's fascinating.
Yeah, it shows that even a well-established theory, like TPB, can be adapted and refined to fit different situations.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of a good theory.
Right.
It's not static. It evolves as we learn more about human behavior.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we've got smoking cessation and music streaming.
Yeah.
Any other surprising applications of TPB?
How about a study on why drivers use GPS navigation?
Oh.
Even in areas they know well.
Wait, there's a psychological reason why I blindly follow my GPS?
Possibly, yeah.
Even when I know it's taking me the long way around?
Maybe, yeah. This study found that women and less experienced drivers were more likely to use navigation systems, suggesting that perceived behavioral control might be playing a role.
So maybe I rely on my GPS because I'm not as confident in my own sense of direction.
That could be part of it.
Yeah.
The researchers also added navigation involvement to the TPB model.
Navigation involvement? What's that?
Which is basically how much someone enjoys.
Okay.
Or is interested in using navigation technology.
So some people just genuinely like using GPS?
It seems so.
Okay.
And guess what? Navigation involvement turned out to be the strongest predictor of both the intention to use navigation and actual navigation behavior.
Who knew there was so much psychology behind something as simple as using GPS?
It's all connected.
Yeah.
And that's just the tip of the iceberg.
Oh, no.
We got another study here that takes TPB even further.
Okay, hit me.
Exploring how gender and age influence decisions about using new technology in the workplace.
Okay, I'm ready for another layer of complexity.
This one's particularly interesting because it combines TPB with the idea that gender roles and life experiences change as we age.
Right.
And those changes can impact how we make decisions.
So it's not just about being male or female.
Right.
It's about how those identities intersect with age and life stage.
Exactly.
Okay.
And so the researchers found a fascinating pattern here.
Yeah.
For older workers,
Okay.
there were clear gender differences in how those TPB variables influenced technology adoption.
Okay, so older people, there's a difference.
That for younger workers,
Yeah.
those gender differences pretty much disappear.
Really?
Yeah.
So maybe those stereotypes about men being more tech-savvy
Mm-hmm.
are starting to fade as younger generations come into the workplace.
That's a possible interpretation.
Right.
It suggests that as gender roles continue to evolve,
Right.
we might see those differences in tech adoption continue to shrink.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, I have to ask.
Yeah.
Did they actually look at GPS use?
I don't think they looked at GPS specifically
Okay.
in this workplace study, but
Okay.
it's a great example of how these studies can spark further questions
Totally.
and areas for research.
Right.
Yeah, it's really cool to think about how one study
Yeah.
can lead to all these other ideas.
And it highlights how a seemingly simple theory like this
Mm-hmm.
can have these really rich and nuanced implications for understanding human behavior.
Right, and that's what makes TPB so compelling.
Yeah.
It gives us this framework
Yeah.
for understanding not just what people do,
Yeah.
but why they do it.
Okay, we've covered a lot of ground here.
We have.
From smoking cessation
Yeah,
to music streaming to GPS navigation.
a lot of different behaviors.
But before we wrap up,
Yeah.
I wanted to touch on one more study that caught my eye.
Oh, which one is that?
The study on sugary drink consumption
Okay.
in rural Virginia.
Okay, yeah.
It seems like a really interesting application of TPB, like focusing on a specific region and culture.
Yeah, yes.
You know?
That one stood out to me as well.
Yeah.
It's a great example of how TPB can be used to inform interventions that are tailored to the specific needs and beliefs of a community.
So it's not just about applying the theory in a vacuum.
Right.
It's about understanding the context.
Precisely.
Yeah.
In this study, the researchers used focus groups to get a deeper understanding of people's beliefs and attitudes about sugary drinks, water, and artificially sweetened beverages.
And I'm guessing those beliefs and attitudes are shaped by a lot of different factors, from cultural norms
Absolutely.
to personal preferences to availability and cost.
All those things, yeah. And the researchers found that themes like taste,
Okay.
convenience, habit, and cost were really important across all the beverage types.
So it wasn't just about health concerns.
Right. It wasn't just about the health aspects. There
Yeah.
were all these other factors
Right.
influencing people's choices.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And by using TPB as a guide, the researchers were able to identify those key factors and start thinking about how to develop interventions that would resonate with the community.
Exactly.
I love that they used a qualitative approach here,
Uh-huh.
really digging into the nuances
Yeah. It gives you a lot more richness
of people's experiences and perspectives.
than just looking at numbers on a survey.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And it gives you so much more richness than just looking at the numbers on a survey.
I agree. It's that combination of qualitative and quantitative research
Yeah,
that can really give us a complete picture of how TPB operates in the real world.
totally.
Yeah.
This has been a truly epic deep dive
It has.
into the theory of planned behavior. We've covered the basic principles,
Uh-huh.
real-world applications,
Yeah.
and even the importance of rigorous research.
And we've only just scratched the surface. There's
Yeah.
so much more to explore.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But before we get too carried away, I think it's time to kind of turn the tables
Okay.
and ask you, the listener, a question.
I like it. Put them on the spot a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Think about a decision you're facing right now,
Mm-hmm.
big or small.
Right.
It could be something as simple as what to have for dinner,
Yeah. Yeah.
or as significant as a career change.
Right.
Here's the challenge.
Yeah.
Can you identify how attitude, subjective norms, and perceived behavioral control might be influencing your intention
Yeah.
and ultimately your behavior?
That's a great exercise
Nice.
to see the theory in action
Yeah.
in your own life.
And it might just give you some insights into why you do the things you do.
Absolutely.
I know it has for me, so.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
It's really interesting.
So think about that.
Think about it.
And we will,
Be back
we'll be back soon.
with even more
Yeah.
on the theory of planned behavior.
See you soon.
See ya.
So before we were talking about how the theory of planned behavior can be applied
Right.
in really specific contexts.
Yeah.
Like that study on sugary drink consumption in rural Virginia.
Right, and that study really highlights how important it is to consider the cultural context
Right.
when you're trying to understand and change behavior.
Yeah.
What motivates people in one community might be totally different from what motivates people in another.
It's like you can't just assume that a one-size-fits-all approach is going to work.
Exactly. The researchers in that study found that people's reasons for choosing sugary drinks, water, or diet drinks
Right.
were often tied to their cultural beliefs and experiences.
So things like taste preferences, cost concerns, even worries about water quality, all played a role in their decisions.
And those factors can vary so much from place to place.
Yeah.
What might be a major concern in a rural community might not even be on the radar
Right.
in an urban environment.
It reminds me of another study I read about that used TPB
Oh, yeah.
to understand why people choose to buy organic food.
Oh, yeah, that's a great example. In that study, they found that subjective norms were a big driver of organic food purchases.
So people were really influenced by what their friends, family, and community thought about organic food.
Exactly. It's like if everyone around you is buying organic,
Yeah.
you start to feel like maybe you should too.
Right, and that kind of social pressure can be really powerful,
It can be.
especially when it comes to food choices,
Yeah.
which are often tied to our identity and sense of belonging.
Absolutely. Yeah. Food is very social.
It is.
Yeah.
It's interesting, though, because in the sugary drink study, cost was a major factor, especially when people were deciding between sugary drinks and water.
Right.
But in the organic food study, subjective norms seem to outweigh cost concerns.
Yeah. It's interesting how those different factors kind of interact.
Yeah, that makes you wonder how those different factors interact
Yeah.
and which ones are most influential in different situations.
It's a complex equation for sure.
It is.
There's still so much we don't know
Right.
about the nuances of TPB
Yeah.
and how it plays out in different contexts.
Which is exciting in a way.
It is exciting.
It means there's still so much more to discover
Absolutely.
and learn about human behavior.
And as we do more research and refine our understanding of TPB, we can develop even more effective interventions
Okay.
and strategies for promoting positive behavior change.
So if we know, for example, that subjective norms are a major driver of organic food consumption,
Yeah.
we could focus our efforts on changing those norms.
Exactly. We could launch public awareness campaigns or community-based initiatives that highlight
Right.
the benefits of organic food
Yeah.
and encourage people to make the switch.
Or if we know that cost is a barrier to choosing healthier beverages, we could look for ways to make those options more affordable.
Right. We could explore things like subsidies
Okay.
or price reductions to make healthy drinks more accessible to everyone.
The key is to tailor our approach to the specific factors that are driving behavior in a particular context.
Exactly. It's not about telling people what to do. It's
Right.
about understanding why they do the things they do.
Right.
And then finding ways to support positive change.
And that's where TPB could be such a valuable tool.
It gives us a framework for thinking about behavior change
Yeah.
in a more holistic and nuanced way.
So as we continue to explore TPB, let's keep those core components in mind.
Yeah.
Attitude,
Yeah.
subjective norms, and perceived behavioral control.
And let's remember that those factors are always interacting and influencing each other
Right.
in complex ways.
It's like a puzzle where each piece is important,
Yeah.
but it's the way the pieces fit together
Right.
that creates the complete picture.
Exactly. And by understanding how those pieces fit together,
Yeah.
we can start to see the bigger picture
Yeah.
of human behavior.
And that understanding can empower us to make more informed and intentional choices,
Absolutely.
both for ourselves and for the communities we live in.
For sure. Yeah. It's a powerful tool.
Speaking of choices, I'm starting to feel a little bit hungry.
Me too.
Maybe it's time for a snack break.
Yeah, I could go for a snack. But before we indulge, let's take a moment to recap
Okay.
what we've learned about TPB so far.
We've seen that it's a powerful theory
It is.
for understanding and predicting human behavior.
And we've explored how it's been applied to a wide range of scenarios,
We have.
from health choices to consumer behavior to technology adoption.
It's really versatile.
It is. It's a very versatile theory.
We've also learned that TPB is not a static theory.
Right.
It's constantly evolving.
It is.
as we learn more about the complexities of human decision-making.
And that evolution is exciting
It is.
because it means we can continue to refine our approaches
Right.
to promoting positive behavior change.
I like that.
Yeah.
So as we head into our final segment, we want you to keep thinking about TPB
Mm-hmm.
and how it applies to your own life.
And we'll be back soon to wrap up our deep dive
Yes.
with some final thoughts and a challenge for you to take on,
Welcome back to the deep dive.
where we've been exploring this fascinating world of the theory of planned behavior.
And you know what? This deep dive has really made me think about all the different factors that influence the decisions we make. It's like there's this whole hidden world of thoughts and beliefs that are driving our actions, you know?
Yeah, it's true. Once you start looking at behavior through the lens of TPB, you can't unsee it.
Right.
You start to notice these patterns everywhere.
So as we wrap up our exploration of TPB, I think it's important to talk about how we can use this knowledge
Mm-hmm.
to make more conscious and intentional choices in our lives.
Absolutely. It's not enough to just understand the theory, right?
Yeah.
We need to be able to apply it to our own lives.
So how do we do that?
Well, remember those core components of TPB:
Yeah,
attitude, subjective norms, and perceived behavioral control.
right. Those are the building blocks of our intentions.
Exactly.
Okay.
So start by asking yourself, how do these factors influence my intentions and ultimately my actions?
Okay.
Think about a decision you're facing right now and try to identify how those components are playing a role. Like, it could be a big decision, like changing careers.
Right.
Or a small one, like what to eat for dinner.
Yeah. Any decision, big or small.
Okay.
The point is to become more aware of the forces that are shaping your choices.
Right.
Once you have that awareness, then you can start to make more deliberate decisions.
Okay, that makes sense, but it's not just about individual change, is it?
No, it's not.
TPB can also help us understand how to influence the behavior of others.
Right. This is really important for anyone who's in a position to kind of shape the choices of others.
Right.
Like parents, teachers, coaches, community leaders, you know.
So if you're a parent and you want your kids to eat healthier,
Uh-huh.
you could use TPB to develop strategies that target their attitudes, subjective norms, and perceived behavioral control.
Exactly. So, for example, you could expose them to information about the benefits of healthy eating.
Right.
You could create a home environment where healthy food is readily available.
You could even teach them cooking skills so they feel more confident in their ability to prepare healthy meals.
And if you're a teacher who wants to encourage students to be more active, you could use TPB to design interventions that address those same components.
Absolutely. You could teach students about the importance of physical activity. You could create opportunities for them to be active during the school day. And you could even help them develop the skills and confidence they need to participate in different physical activities.
It's really about empowering people to make the choices that lead to a healthier, happier, and more fulfilling life.
Exactly. And that's what makes the theory of planned behavior such a valuable framework. It gives us a roadmap for understanding and changing behavior, both for ourselves and for others.
So as we sign off from this episode of The Deep Dive, we want to leave you with a challenge.
Okay, I like it. A challenge.
Take what you've learned about TPB and start applying it to your own life and to the world around you.
Yeah, don't just let this information sit there.
Right.
Go out and use it.
Keep exploring.
Keep learning.
Keep learning.
And keep striving to make choices that align with your values and your goals.
Because when you do that,
You can achieve anything you set your mind to.
that's the power of the deep dive.
Until next time, keep diving deep.